Recently, there has been a lot of discourse online regarding Black women in friendships.
1, 2, 3, funky.
Two situations in particular that I want to touch on is K. Michelle and Portia Williams from Housewives of Atlanta, and then Latto and Cardi B. And I don't necessarily want to touch on them wholeheartedly, but I want to use them to help us navigate this video, okay? So with Cardi B and Latto, they had a situation where they worked together, they became really close friends, and then there was a video or some audio, I believe, that was leaked of Cardi B calling Latto. And we recently found out on Latto's album that her and Cardi B haven't spoken, and pretty much that she hasn't received an apology. She thought that this woman was her friend, that they were cool and they were beyond co-workers, and to find out like, oh, okay, this is what you really think about me, that hurt her. The K. Michelle and Portia situation goes that Portia introduced K. Michelle to the group. All things according to this season of Housewives, you know, they bring in the housewives and they introduce them to the girls, even if they aren't necessarily the closest of friends. K. Michelle brought up to Portia that she had an issue with some of the things Portia had been doing, putting her in the middle of like the drama between Kelly and the married man situation. She felt like, okay, you don't cultivate safe spaces. So that makes me a little eerie about being connected to you, or leery, whatever the word is. Then she also mentioned that, you know, I have a problem with the fact that you dated my most recent ex and didn't tell me. So if we supposed to be girls, why didn't you tell me that y'all dated, right? So that's their situation and it's still pending. I'm using these things because it just made me think overall. I'm like, okay, what are 4 topics that I would like to discuss as it pertains to Black women in particular and friendships? Those 4 things would be: number 1, upbringing, the way in which you was raised, because who raised some of y'all? That's what I be thinking. Number 2, emotional intelligence, right? Number 3, decentering men, decentering these niggas. And then number 4, The Others. And my Nicole Kidman. Y'all remember that Nicole Kidman movie, The Others? Really good movie. Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right on in. Upbringing. When I think about upbringing, I think about morals, character, integrity, and values, right? An example I would give, I remember one day me, my dad, and my sisters were in a car and we were talking about my mom's friend, and we called her Mexican Linda. We wasn't talking negatively about her, but he instantly corrected us and was like, how y'all know she Mexican? It was like, we don't know, right? So he consistently instilled in us to not be ignorant as it pertains to other races. When it came to like, oh, this person's Chinese, he'd be like, how you know they're Chinese? Just say Asian. So he instilled that in me, and that made me like address situations more correctly and less offensively. My mother, something that she preached down to me and my sister was just being respectful when it came to other people's man. Making sure that when you with your man that, you know, your situation is respected as well, and stuff like that. So those values really stuck with me. Now, when I say who raised y'all, it is because I've seen so much like foolish behavior. An example, again, let's go back to Portia, would be the whole Fallon bringing Portia to her home, Portia then eventually becoming married to Fallon's husband that she met through Fallon. First of all, that's gross. Second of all, I hate the fact that she leaned on the excuse of, well, me and her weren't that close. It doesn't matter. Because again, morals, values, integrity, and character. You came into this woman's home. She trusted you enough to bring you into her space, even though it was for housewives. Woman to woman, girl code is like, respect that woman. It's a whole bunch of other men in the world. You ain't have to get with Simon. But see, those are, for me, that's a value that I hold dear and true to my heart. Everybody ain't able. And I know that because some women may not have grown up being taught that. That is why we do have hoes. That is why we do have side chicks. That is why we do have situations that include triangles and things of that sort. Because again, I said this in my last video about Meg and Klay Thompson. These men ain't cheating alone. It's there's another woman, and a lot of times the woman knows about the other woman, saying that to say, so we are a part of the problem. We got to get it together. And you can't cultivate healthy relationships with women if you are not a girl's girl. It's just plain and simple. It just is what it is. Moving right along, Girls Girl Mean Girls. I think about the movie Mean Girls. It's so camp, so ridiculous, so dramatic. But is it really? Because there are a lot of women that give Regina George, that want to be the nucleus of a group, that want to be the mean girl, that want to have minions, that doesn't respect individuality. And that is another thing that is not helping us to cultivate safe relationships with women, when it's like we want to group think. We don't have to group think. Everyone should be able to think the way in which they want to without gossiping. Do we have to gossip about one another? I get a little kiki, a little 1-2 every now and again, but it's like, if you my girl, let's build together. Let's talk about ideas together. Let's talk about traveling together. Let's share experiences with one another. We've leaned so heavily into drama and like gossip. So that's another thing. Like, let's fix the group thought, the mean girl energy, and let's cultivate healthy spaces. Let's do some yoga together. Let's do something therapeutic that can uplift our spirits. Decentering men, time and time again. And when I tell you, even myself, it may seem very contradictory, because girl, you are engaged. I'm engaged, right? But I am learning to decenter my man. I love him, he's amazing, but he shouldn't be the center of my universe. So when I get around my girls, everything that I talk about shouldn't be involving him, okay? Let me get around them, let me ask them some questions. How they doing? Sometimes we get around our friends and we want to talk about the latest drama with our man. It be the same man. You probably still gonna go back to him. And I'm not saying I'm above it. We all have done it. I'm just saying people get tired of that. I don't want to leave a friendship circle and come back home and be drained. The whole point of growing with my girls is because it is something that's therapeutic and causes connection. So saying that to say, hold on, Katie, we have to, I believe that we should lean into that more versus the opposite, right? And like, read the room. Read the room. We all done it, but we got to do better. Lastly, the others. I'm going to talk to Black women who befriend women that are outside of Black culture, right? And sometimes this is a draining situation. I've realized this with myself too, because I've had all types of friends, grew up on the north side of Chicago, the uptown area to be exact. And I've realized that sometimes I'll have non-Black friends and they want to either say the N-word, or they love Black men, but they don't necessarily have respect for Black women, the women that raise these Black men and the women that are in their community. Saying that to say, it has to get to a point where you create boundaries when you have friends that are outside of your race, and make sure that they actually respect the culture. Okay, and if they don't, you should create those boundaries, have conversations with them, because that's what's going to help you cultivate, again, safe space. That's extremely important in establishing those boundaries, because no one wants to be around a friend and be on guard all the time regarding whether or not that friend respects them and their culture, right? That is the 4 things that I wanted to talk about as it pertains to cultivating healthier relationships between Black women. And I want to leave y'all with, it's this deck called the Rest deck. I thought that this was super dope. This was created by a Black woman, and I'm gonna start pulling some of the cards when I do my videos, just so that I can give y'all a little quick word of advice or just some wisdom from this. And the first one is, rest is my foundation to build, invent, restore, and imagine the world I want to see. It's important for us to rest. I'm someone who is a part of like the grind culture, and it's like, now I've realized that it's okay to rest. It's okay. You are enough before capitalism lied. You were enough before white supremacy lied. Both violent systems have uprooted the self-esteem and self-worth of all exposed to them. As we uncover the lives we've been told about who we are, we must turn to rest. Rest is our foundation. You want a world rooted in justice? Rest more. Thank you.